They say the truth hurts, the truth hurts, so you about to feel pain, and I gotta do work. God said I gotta do work, cause it's off with the name, Savage Truth. Savage Truth, it's the savage truth, the savage truth.
But before I do that, does anybody else have a question? I saw Kalechi's off mute. Joseph joined us with his wife as well. So any other questions?
Now, I was just gonna add, it's just interesting listening to the whole conversation because it's something that I've always thought about and something that I've discussed with other guys about the whole submission thing. And it feels like, and a lot of dudes, I don't know, but maybe it's because when you're young, you feel indestructible and you feel like you're never wrong about anything. But it feels like a lot of guys feel like if there's this huge misconception in my opinion of like the whole submission thing. And it's kind of like they all feel like, oh, I'm not going to be a punk in my marriage. I'm not going to be the little boy in my marriage. And it's like, but dude, like that's not, it's like everybody says, it's this dichotomy of everybody saying, oh, I want a Proverbs 31 wife. And then out of the same breath, they say the exact opposite thing of like, I'm not going to be a punk. And then the argument I always have is just kind of like, yo, have you read the Bible verse and the Bible chapter about like, she wasn't just like sleeping on the couch or anything like that. Like she was handling business. Like she wasn't just, but anyway, it was just kind of like just hearing the dichotomy. And then it's kind of like seeing marriages that haven't worked out and then seeing marriages that have worked out in the marriages around me. And it's kind of like that. It's come down to that simple factor of the man was like, this is how it's going to be. And then in the way it worked out, it was just kind of like, we're going to make this thing work. It's going to be fun. We may make mistakes from time to time, but that's fine. And we'll figure it out as it goes along. And that's been like, I think allowing for failure has been something that I've been learning from a lot of people rather than like, this is it and this is the only way. And I think just listening to everybody over here has been pretty good so far. So
that's awesome. Yeah, expectations suck in marriage. And I that's one thing I tell people all the time. I'm like, I don't I don't expect anything from my wife but for her to love me and to take care of the children we decided to have. That is my only expectation, right? Like when we start expecting things, right? Like constantly, right? It's just like it loses its value and it's like it's not a necessity, right? Like that's the only expectation we have. They're like, I expect her to love Jesus, love her neighbor, and like that's it. But trying to do right, and that's what happens because then you try to like you don't have room for failure and you don't have room to grow or to progress or to change because if I'm so used to something, then if I try to change it, if you were happy with what I'm doing, then like now I don't want to like you don't want to change everything. So then we just wind up living in these boxes of expectation that we think is making the other person happy, when in reality, a lot of times we don't even ask if that makes them happy. Right? Like I know the one thing I get on a lot of husbands about is like we set out to develop these lives and these lifestyles for our families, right? Like I work hard for my family. I got to do what I got to. And I ask people, I'm like, have you ever actually asked your family what they wanted?
No.
Like, did you ask your wife if she wants another vacation? Did you ask your wife if she wants a bigger house? And so one day I was riding with my daughters in the car and I asked them, because we were doing like a daddy-daughter outing, and I asked them, I said, what's the most important thing that I do? And my daughters, who at the time probably like 3 or 4 years ago, so they were probably like 9 and 7, said, serve God and love us. So not being an executive, not being a pastor, not being a rapper, not like none of that. Like they were just like serving God and loving us. We loved it. And so like, they were like, if you didn't do anything else, we wouldn't really care. So, right, like all of the like building a career and all of that, they're like, well, we don't really care. Like that doesn't matter. And it's not impressive, right? But then like we convince ourselves of that because there are things that we want to achieve, right? Like I condition my wife to be like, when we were younger, I was like, my goal as your husband is that your debit card will never get declined and I will work myself to death. And you should be able to swipe anything you want any day, every day. And now it don't matter. Like that was like my mindset. And it really was because my manhood felt compromised because when our daughter was born, I went to go buy a pack of diapers and I couldn't afford it. Right. So like I wanted to get like that 72 case, Joseph, y'all still got a little man, that 72 case of diapers that be like $47. right? And it was literally, it was $44 for the case of diapers. And I think I had like $18 in the bank. And so I had to go get and I got paid. I was in the military at the time. I got paid on the 1st and the 15th, right? I think it was like the 11th. So I had like 4 days until I got paid. So I had to buy like the little 10 pack of diapers. And like, I made a song about it. It's on my Worthy album called Fathers. Like, that made me, I'm like, I will never be in that position again. Right. And then so it was like working, saving money, working. And then I was like, I'll never have less than $500 in the bank. Then I was like, I'll never have less than $1,000 in the bank. And so in my mind, I'm doing all of this stuff, right? Like putting the pressure on my family, like super crazy on, like trying to work overtime and do all of this other stuff to try to earn other money. And like, none of that had anything to do with her. But like, I made it about her. I made it about my daughter when it was really about my pride, when it was really about my ego and me feeling like I can't provide. But then I project that on my family and then use that as the excuse to why I'm not present or why I'm frustrated or why I got a short temper because I ain't got no money. When they didn't care, she wouldn't have cared if I came back with 8 diapers or a pack of 72. She just needed diapers, right? Like it didn't matter to her, but we wind up projecting that stuff on our families. And then without stopping and asking, we set those expectations on ourselves and we think that they have expectations on us that they may not even have. Right? Like we just got to stop and ask the question, like, where are we actually trying to go? What are we actually trying to do? Instead of just kind of trying to wing it, I guess. In thinking for them, right? We got magic powers, you know what I'm saying? Like we reading their mind and then determining what they want and then doing it for them and then get frustrated when like, you know what I'm saying? I just did all that stuff that you wanted. And they're like, I did not ask for that at all. I don't know. What are you talking about?
But I think that's a common thing where husbands, are trying to make sure their families are satisfied and happy. And if they work hard and sacrifice without, asking them, what's most important to them, they give them all these things. And then when they don't have the level of excitement, that the husband is expecting, then, some problems.
Bro, just be like, so that whole diamond right there, you just cool with that? That's how you feel right now? Like we were like, so our daughter's birthday, our daughter loves Christian hip hop. She loves music, so right? Bad. So you've got the cameos? Yeah, cameo. So our daughter, was it her last birthday, right? Her 9th birthday, or was it the one before that?
Yeah, it was during COVID.
So it was during COVID, right? We normally do like big birthday parties or whatever for the kids, or we do trips. We couldn't do any of that. Our middle daughter's birthday is in April. So I was like, you know what? She loves Lecrae. So I'm gonna get her a Lecrae cameo. So we both hype, right? We like, yeah, this about to kill it. So she get the phone and she look at the cameo and she was like, okay. And literally just put the phone down. We was like, you know how much that cameo cost me?
She was like, I really like Jamie Grace.
like you picked the wrong celebrity. I'm like, oh, she was like, and it was just like, okay, whatever. Like,
oh no.
Okay, well.
Everybody I know was more hype about that Lecrae cameo than Alyssa. She was like, that's nice.
It was really underwhelming.
Big letdown. And she just kept rocking. She was looking at us like, y'all need to get over that. It's not that deep.
I mean, she's thankful and everything, but it wasn't what she wanted. Like, nope. And I think that same mentality can be applied to everything, especially, not to get off subject, but, when you're doing things for people, we like to project what we want on them. And then we get upset that that's not what they want. Be it missions, outreach, all this kind of stuff. Like, they might, you need to ask people what they want, what they need, not what you want.
Have you ever heard of the 5 love languages?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I learned about them real quick because I'm someone who likes to do things for other people all the time. So when I get up and clean the house for you and do all the dishes and do all these things, and you're, at the end of the day, I'm like, what?
I don't.
You see everything I spent doing today, and she's like, I just want to spend some time with you. I'm like, I could have just sat down next to you all day instead.
Yeah.
We were together for, I think almost 3 years. Around 3 years when we got engaged. Hold on, let me think. We had
lived together for like 2 years before, but that's not.
We had been together for 2.5, almost 3 years when we got married. So my first birthday after we got married, he stayed home from work. And I was like, this is great. I'm a quality time love language person. He's going to hang out with me today. And instead, he spent like 6 hours on the other side of the house organizing and rearranging our girl's room, which is a very nice gesture. However, one, he didn't spend any time with me. And two, I don't like change. So he rearranged a room as a gesture to me on my birthday. And I was sitting there like, I'm like, should I just tell him to stop and come sit with me? Or is that a bad idea? Because he's on a roll and he's going to get like thrown off if I make him stop. So we got to the whole end of the day and he was like trying to figure out why I was not happy with what happened. And I was like, well, to be completely honest, I'm a quality time love language person. And what you did is an act of service. And that doesn't mean anything to me.
I got the book the next day. It just
means you spent the whole day not spending time with me on my birthday. Yeah. He was like, oh my God.
So it's important to communicate that, guys. Know what the other person wants to. And it's 5 love languages. So look that up. It's great.
You know what's funny though? And so this is where I'm gonna criticize the 5 love languages, right? Because like everybody read the book, they understand their love language, but you also read a book where you understand everybody else's. So why are people like, you know what I mean? Because people be like, I'm an act of service kind of person, but I'm not though. So like, and you read the book, so you know that's not
my argument, right? There,
and that's so, and that's like the biblical, and that's like, you know what I'm saying, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I think that's how we approach the love languages from a Christian perspective, because we read that and they're like, I'm a quiet time kind of person, so you should do unto me as I would want done unto me. And you should quiet time me. And it was like, no, I'm an act of service kind of person. So when you show me love, you should show me love.
Never mind, don't read the book.
But it's just kind of like, because we read it and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But I'm like, but I don't want her to become me.
I think one of the things, if you can approach it the right way, is so the idea is you have like 2 primary love languages, and mine are quality time and physical touch. And one of his is physical touch a little bit. It's like 3, I think. But words of affirmation and acts of service are his top 2, which are my bottom 2.
I have no interest in this whatsoever, but you did a great thing today. You did a great thing today.
What that means is that being with him challenges me to do better when it comes to, it challenges me to be intentional in my ability to be an active service person or to receive an active service, because that's my challenge, is to receive an active service, because I like things the way I like them. And so like there was one time, I think when I was pregnant, where I was like, man, it would be nice if he could just like bring me my cup of tea that I want instead of me having to go get it. And then immediately after, I was like, you don't want that, because he's going to bring that cup of tea in here and you're going to not like the way he made it. So don't even pretend. You want him to bring you a cup of tea. You don't want him to bring you a cup of tea.
That's the best stuff.
But the words of affirmation thing, like I'm not good at it and I'm not good at receiving it, but it's something he needs. And so if I remind myself, like, he doesn't need quality time as badly as I need it. He needs words of affirmation from me. He needs my intent of daily saying something or doing something for him that makes him feel fulfilled. And then same with him, I've had to have times where I've had to remind him, like, hey, quality time is my love language. I need that from you. And he has to stretch and build that muscle to do it. So I'm agreeing with you and kind of like building up on it, where it's like, yeah, especially if you're in a relationship, one of my best friends has this issue, like her love languages are polar opposites to her husband's love languages. And it's very difficult, but if you're truly willing to say, I love this person,
sacrifice,
I love them for who they are, I love them for the fact that their love languages are different than mine, I'm going to challenge myself to love them with their love languages and my own, and then allow them to love me with their love languages, because I have gotten better at allowing him to give me acts of service or allowing him to give me words of affirmation, and accepting those things as a offering of love from him. And then doing the same is challenging myself to give him a word of affirmation, or challenging I mean, it's not that big of a challenge for me to do acts. I'm good at giving acts of service. I'm horrible at receiving acts of service. So yeah, it's if you're looking at it and they're not the same, you guys have to have the conversation where you say, I'm really bad at your love language. So please be patient while I get better at it.
Yeah, and I think Sean said it. It's communication as well, right? So it's the way that we communicate, and like you said, even if it's like, can you bring me tea, but please make it this way when you bring it to me, because I know like the way that you like your tea, I don't like your tea, but it's something that my wife says that I love, but it's just the whole concept of considering others more significant than yourself. So, right, like, and that's the whole, like, love your neighbor concept, right? And I forgot I think it was on, like, one of Jared Sanders' albums, and he was like, you don't like your wife? And he was like, do what the Bible says. Like, it's like, well, she ain't even say. It was like, well, love your neighbor. Your wife is your closest neighbor. Then, love your neighbor. And so I think having that mindset of, it's like, even since we moved, like, I'm a very organized person. So it's like, for things to be cluttered, drive me crazy. So like we were doing spring cleaning the other day, and I asked her, I was like, can you clean out the junk drawer for me? Because I don't like looking at it. It gives me a headache. Because I don't understand why stuff accumulate in a drawer, and like mail that we don't use and expired coupons. It drives me crazy.
That's what it's there for.
It's the junk drawer, right? But she cleaned it out, and then it was funny. My brother was in our family room, and I'm in the kitchen, and I opened up the junk drawer, and she made like a section on the side with like my screwdrivers and stuff on it. And I looked at it, I said, girl, I'll slob you down right now, girl. Like, that's the sexiest thing you've done all month, is organize this junk drawer. It's like, if these kids wasn't around here. It's like, that's sexy to me right there, organize that junk drawer, But again, because it was just like, but one thing I had to do one time is I had to explain to her, right? And I mean, this was probably like last year when we sat down, and I explained to her and my best friend, like, the mental, like, anguish of things being incomplete around me. Mm. So like, if something around me is undone, I feel like it makes me like anxious, like, especially if it's something I can control and complete. So like, if I can get this done, I want to get it done now. So I'm the dude that'll go to, like, if we're organizing the house, I'm driving to Walmart at 2:30 in the morning to get the rest of the bins so we can finish organizing tonight before we went to sleep. Like, right, we moved into our house, and our entire house was fully unpacked and decorated within 7 days of us moving in, including the garage being empty, to the point to where I could pull all my cars in the garage. So every picture hung, every box unpacked, everything done within 7 days of moving into our house. And so like even my neighbors are like, I still got boxes unpacked, and I moved in 3 years ago. Every time we moved into a house, within 7 days, the entire house was unpacked. Because if not, it bothers me.
Start a moving company.
What was that?
You need to start a moving company.
I don't like moving other people's stuff though. I just don't like my boxes being, because then I don't know what's here, right? Because then you go to the store and then you wind up buying the toaster, which you had a toaster in the box. Right. And then I want to unpack, get rid of stuff. But I don't like incomplete tasks. And when I explained that to them, they were like, that makes sense. Cause I'll be home and I'll just leave the house. And then my best friend was like, you realize the only time you shop is to solve a problem. He was like, she doesn't even ask me a question anymore. If I leave the house, then she knows either something was broke or something needs to get organized, or we out of bins and I need to get more. But I don't even say nothing, because I can't even explain in this moment what I'm about to go do. I see a problem. When I come back, I'm gonna solve it. And that's just what it is. But like, it was just kind of like, because I get quiet, and for a while she was like, are you mad at me or something? And I'm like, no, like, it's just in my mind. Like, now there's a task to complete and I need to go finish it. Like, I love you, but go away. Like, go away right now.
So then if I know that I want to do something like decorative wise, I don't even present it until I got all my pieces, because my little control part, if that wasn't like how I envisioned it to be, and then you want to finish the task, then I feel some kind of way.
See how this can create some cross conflicts? Because I want to get stuff done, and she was like, well, just let me look at the pillow cushions, and like 3 months later, we still ain't got no pillow cushions. Like, I want to burn the couch. And she cheap, so she indecisive and she frugal. But then, right, and so what I've learned from a control perspective And I tell her, and we had this conversation. I said, don't tell me about something until you're ready to fix it. Right? So don't tell me you want to reorganize a room, because if you tell me that, we're reorganizing it today. Right? Like if we can go to the store, if I can order it off of Amazon, it's getting done today. Right? Like, and so she doesn't. She'll just be like, I'll be like, what you doing? She'll be like, nothing, just looking at some stuff. Like I said, she's like, I know she about to do the garden. She ain't mentioned nothing to me about what kind of garden box she want or whatever in the back. She been watching YouTube videos for 2 months on gardening. I know what she been doing. I ain't got nothing to say. When you figure out what you want, send me a text message and it'll be done in 24 hours. Like that's all we need to know. But because, you know, we talk about love languages, not necessarily a love language, but one funny story was when I kicked her out the house when we were moving. And I told her, see, I'm gonna give more context to the story. But so we were leaving Delaware and moving to Colorado, because for those that don't know, my physical office is in Colorado. So we moved out to Colorado, but so we were packing. Twice. Well, I kicked you out the first time. The next time we just planned it. Okay. But we're packing up the house. And again, I got to get stuff done. So I got the containers coming. I don't like people packing my stuff. So I'll hire movers to put the box in the truck, but I don't let anybody pack my belongings. Because when I was in the Navy, they packed some bread that like molded when we unpacked it. So I had a bad experience. Now I just pack my own stuff. So I order everything, get everything packed. So we're packing up the house, and like, we had on our Fitbits, right? So I'm going through the house. I'm going up the stairs. I'm packing up our room. I'm packing up the girls' room. And I have to keep walking around her on the stairs because she's sitting on the stairs. So like, I think like most of the way through the day, I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what? I said, how many steps you got on your Fitbit? And she looked and she was like, I think it was like 4,000, 5,000. And this is like 4:00 in the afternoon. I'm at like 27,000 steps. And I got like 100 and something flights because I've been going up and down the stairs. And I just looked at her in the most loving way possible. And this was in 2015, so we had been married for 9 years. I just looked at her in the loving way possible, and I was like, I need you to leave. And she was just like, what? I was like, yeah, I need you to leave. And so a little bit more context, what she was doing on the stairs was calling our family members that were in the area. She was calling our friends that were in the area, her family that was in Virginia. So like she was like connecting with and trying to make sure that she talked to the people in our life. And so like what I realized that day going up and down those stairs and walking around her like 1,000 times was that she's people oriented and I'm task oriented. And then I realized this works because I don't want to talk to any of these people. I could care less. I literally told people at our church when I was leaving, they're like, I'm going to miss you. I was like, I won't miss you.
He really said
that is what I said to people at church. I don't like people. I do this because this is what Jesus called me to do. I don't like people. And I told people that to their face. I'm like, when I'm not around you, I don't miss you at all. I just don't. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't. When you're not here, I'm not worried about you. But I told her that. I said, look, like, what I want you to do is I want you to actually go and visit people, because I could tell, like, you know what I mean? Like she, you talk about the love language, like she wasn't getting fulfillment from just talking to people on the phone. And we're about to move to the other side of the country. And like, I don't know, it's not like we're going to be flying back and forth with 2 kids all the time. So I'm like, so I told her, I was like, we got the money, like, just go. Like, just go on a vacation. I'm like, I got Marriott points because I was traveling all the time. I'm like, I'll book you a hotel anywhere you want to go if you ain't staying with family. But I'm like, yeah, you just need to leave. And then she did, like, right. And she was like, and that's because we had that discussion. And that was like because I'm like, I'm praying while I'm going up and down them stairs, trying not to let my flesh, you know what I'm saying, get to me. But honestly, like, that's what God revealed to me about the balance in our relationship. I'm task oriented. She's people oriented. She's the one who calls my grandmother on birthdays. She makes sure we got all the cards. She buys the presents for folk. I could care less about that stuff. But it's like, but when it comes to completing tasks, when it's time to set up the classroom, when it's time to get stuff done, like, we have that balance. And I'm like, yeah, it's like frustrating for you to be here while we're trying to pack our lives into pods and move them across the country, because you would rather be spending time with people. Like, I don't want to spend time with these people at all. So let's divide and conquer. So you go spend time with the people, and then I'll get the house packed. And I said, and I'll leave. And I told him, I said, set out some stuff, set out the stuff that you guys need before we leave. And then the agreement I always have when we move, if I throw out anything that you want, if you tell me what it is when we unpack, I'll buy you a new one. So I throw away like a dumpster full of stuff. Nobody ever knows what it is because everybody got too much stuff. So I had to replace like one part of something. It's like a cord or something. But and then honestly, the next time we moved, so we were in Colorado and we were moving back to Delaware. She scheduled a trip, so she went to Los Angeles and I packed the house. Got everything done. She went and visited my stepmom out there, had a good time, kids chilling on the beach. I packed up the house and we were good. And then we moved back. So it's like, but it's understanding that like what, kind of not even just like the love languages, like, but it's kind of like the love languages, but then how do you apply that? Exactly. Right? So like, how do you use your strengths or your weaknesses to accomplish what you need to do? Because I think, and I don't want to throw the buzzword out there. I think feminism has us competing too much with each other. Like, we can't just be different. You know what I mean? Like, we can't just be different. And then like you said, and I'm sorry, I don't even know. Sean, what's your wife's name?
Becca. Oh, I'm Becca.
Rebecca.
Okay. Biblically, call me Rebecca.
We call her Becca, but it's Rebecca, the biblical spell.
Yeah. So like Becca, like what you said when like the woman is a compliment, right? But like there's so much competition in our society between men and women that it's like I can't just say, okay, you know what? You go take care of the people. I'll take care of the packing. Because somebody would be like, that's your house too. That's your stuff. So why you not going to be packed? She don't care.
I really don't care.
She don't really care. So it's like you're almost putting that on them because it's like, oh, you should care. Like, no, she shouldn't care. Like, if I really, really care and she doesn't, then collectively, don't we got it covered? Like, she could care 0% and I care 100%. Because it's a lot of stuff that I know she cares 0% about. 0%. And it's a lot of stuff that I care 0% about. But it's like in that way, like the two of us are one. So we ain't always got to divide. We are one person. Right? And I think in relationships, we always try to like, oh, it's 50-50. No, it's not. It's not 50-50.
It's 100-100.
Sometimes it's 70-30. Sometimes it's 80-20. Sometimes it's 90-10. Sometimes it's 0-0 because neither one of us gonna do it. We're not investing any energy in that whatsoever. Not even as a group. Not giving any energy to that. But
They keep asking who I am, I just tell them I'm a Christian. Occupation, a description, I just tell them I'm a Christian. Nationality, ethnicity, I tell them I'm a Christian. Keep the hyphens in division.